So what's up, everybody? My name is Maverick Mike, and I am the leader of the Mavericks Mastery Room in the Simpler Trading website. Every single day, I'm live trading, and what I love the most is taking advantage of sector momentum. Here is actually my track record. If you ever want to go check out every single one of my trades, you can go to profit.ly and you could scan all through since back in 2015, and I've just crossed a record number, breaking $500,000 in profit. So that's a big accomplishment. Honestly, for me, it's just a number, but it is something that I should pat myself on the back for. So very proud of that moment. It actually happened as we were buying cannabis stocks when the cannabis sector started to heat up. But the great thing about the cannabis sector is this isn't anything new. I've actually been trading cannabis stocks since all the way back here when I first started profiting in 2017 and 2018. And I'll show you that in this video. So you're going to learn 3 things in this video today about the cannabis sector momentum. The first thing is going to be how do I identify sector momentum, and what even is that? For me, most of my big spurts in my profit, when you see the profit chart here, that comes from the time that I'm taking advantage of that sector momentum. If you notice, a lot of my profit comes in a shorter amount of time because usually that's what's happening. So the first thing we're going to learn is that. The second thing we're going to learn is how to take advantage of that sector momentum when it's there. And then the last thing is the cannabis stocks and what cannabis stocks to watch. Alright, so let's dive in. We got a lot of stuff to go over today. Starting off is, what exactly is sector momentum? And that is a great question. If you don't trade a lot, you're probably wondering. It sounds exactly what it is. What it is there is something in the outside world that caused a lot of people to pay attention to it. A thing right now that's not really stock related too much would be Ozempic, weight loss, stuff like that. In the stock market, it becomes a whole variety of stocks that will latch on to that specific thing. We don't really have anything for Ozempic yet, but we do have stuff that happened recently with coronavirus in 2020. That became crazy back in 2020 and 2021. We had the cannabis sector all the way back in 2015 and 16 when it was first being legalized. And then ever since then, it's just been big news that's really led the way for that one. We've had Bitcoin, that's been a crazy stuff. Back in the day, we had shipping in biotech. New ones recently are EV. Gold is actually becoming hot. Silver's becoming hot. We have space that's becoming a new thing. And some gambling stocks are popping out of the blue, but I wouldn't consider that a sector just yet. And then there's bankrupt stocks that are also a sector. But the one we're going to talk about today is going to be the cannabis sector. And all the way back in 2018 is when it first really started to heat up. It was like 2017, 2018, I'm pretty sure to be exact. And it was because CGC had a huge $4 billion deal with Constellation Brands, which owns Corona. And that caused a huge spike in not only CGC, but Tilray started the way, and a whole bunch of run in that sector. We were able to take advantage of it all the way back then in 2018. Look at some of these huge spikes that happened. All 100% spikes in 1 to 2 days. If you go back to our profit lead, you can actually look at all those profits when we were taking advantage of it back in September 13 of 2018. And even more, some recent ones that we were recently doing. So just to show you that it doesn't go away, these ones are actually more recent, coming into last year. So it's just showing you that cannabis stocks aren't anywhere. April 10th of 2024. So we got stocks in the cannabis sector from 2018 bags, and we also have bags from 2024. And then just recently, our bags that we just took advantage of were cannabis bags that brought us over that 500K spot. So all across the board, let's talk about now the sector and what stocks we look at to take advantage when it starts to heat up. So I created a small list for us that we can dive into here. It's going to be a list of listed stocks first, and then we're going to dive into OTCs. Now, when there is sector momentum, there's one thing that usually leads the way, and that's going to be some sort of news. For Bitcoin, it's the overall price. For cannabis, it's going to be some sort of news from the outside perspective. And what that news for me personally, lately, I've needed is declassification news. It's something that's been talked about for a while. Trump is talking about descheduling cannabis, so cannabis can now be studied in pharmaceutical drugs. Right now, pharmaceutical drugs and other things can't study cannabis because they are a Schedule 1 drug or Schedule 3. I don't know. I might have it backwards, but it's pretty much the same drug as heroin and cocaine. And all of us know that it isn't exactly the same as that. So we'll see what happens. But the best thing is we were here to take advantage of the sector momentum. I'm not here to fall in love with cannabis. So if we zoom back to August 8th, that's when the first big spikes happened. And it was August 8th to 11th. If you go back to our Profitly, you'll see some big profits during that day. But that was the first ever thing that Trump ever said about descheduling. Now it quieted off and everything cooled off for a while. And with sector momentum, you want to be taking advantage of things when it's hot, because when it's not, it cools off. What's great is just recently he said something again, and that him saying it caused CGC to gap up from $1 all the way up to pretty much $2. So almost 100% spike. And across the board, we had huge spikes across the board. You had a 200% spike in YCBD, all the way up from 60 cents now at $2.50. You had about a 100% spike in Tilray, spiking from $8 all the way up to $12, pretty much $6 to $12. And then other smaller movers, VFF from $4 to $4.80, OGI, a smaller one from $1.50 to $2.15. And that is just in the listed. The listed group, usually for me, I do like to take advantage of it, but the OTCs is really where you're going to get your range into a lot of these cannabis stocks. And if you look back into my Profitly chart, you will notice that a lot of these profits that I had as I go along the way and in my past history are OTCs. This one's OTC, this one's listed, this one's listed. This one's OTC, OTC listed, OTC, OTC, OTC. So for the most part, you can see what I mean. So I know usually how to take advantage of it. I've been playing it now for 6 years. So let me show you the OTC stocks now that I think are hot. So if you guys didn't copy this full list of listed stocks, make sure to copy them all down. And that next list we got here is going to be OTCs. Now OTCs are great because usually they go a little bit slower and they happen a little slightly delayed. So if something else goes, you usually can take advantage of these next. A good example of that would be, look at CGC. It spiked huge on this day. It consolidated, and then it took a while to follow up. Look at Planet 13. Very similar situation, but it slowly did it. And you could have caught this yesterday at 25 or 2 days ago. Let me zoom out to show you. When we were watching it at 25, you could have scoped that there and took it all the way to 35. That's about almost a 50% gainer. But a lot of this stuff happened from yesterday to today. VRNO was another huge spiker from 1 to 195. TSNDF, a breakout from 50 cents to $1.36. So all of these huge runners. Now the next thing you're probably asking is, I see that you're showing me runners. That's cool. But how do we take advantage of it? Because I'm not here to show you guys runners. I'm here to show you how to take advantage of it. And that's what we're going to do. So make sure you have all these stocks copied. Now, if it's not the cannabis sector, it's going to be the next sector that you're going to take advantage of. Because that's the last thing we're going to highlight. What we're going to highlight is every sector has a leader. The news is the leader for cannabis, but there's also usually a stock that leads the way. CGC is the listed leader, and MSOS is the OTC leader. So both of those you want to keep your eye on. And usually, if those move, you can take advantage of others that haven't quite moved yet. So that's the goal. Find yourself what the leader is and try to find ones that are under it. You usually do that by creating a large sector watch list, just like we did right here. Now, usually, whenever a stock does start to get sector momentum, this is how you're going to take advantage of it. Not just if it's cannabis, but in any type of sector. This could happen in Bitcoin. This could happen probably in Forex. Honestly, most likely anywhere that has a chart. Because what I'm going to teach you right now is all emotion-based. And emotion-based stuff is going to happen forever until AI completely takes over trading. Which actually might happen one day. You never know. But if you check this out, after any big spike or sector momentum or any type of huge, I'd say 50% plus spike, you're going to get three things that are going to happen that next day. One of the three things is going to be it's either going to follow up and make a complete second green day, which would be beautiful and what we wanted. The second thing would be it's going to create that consolidation day, which this one did. And the last thing would be it's going to panic all the way back down and lose all of its gains. And usually we won't look at it anymore if that happens. But in this situation, the consolidation situation, it's a perfect situation. If I zoom out to MSOS, I'll show you exactly what we're looking for. And I'm not going to explain these lines too much here on YouTube because I don't want to give all you guys the juice. But if you do come join me in my Stock Mavericks room in the Simpler Trading website, you can come check me out. And it's a $7 trial for the first month. And I'll get a little more into detail if you like stuff like this. But if you look at MSOS, it was a perfect follow-up day. Lines all lined up perfectly. And that next day, once we broke above that second line, everything just took off from there. And we went from 580 all the way to 680. And I'm not here to buy MSOS, but I was here to take advantage of some of the other ones. So we had some pretty big moves, like Curl Left ran from 4 to 5. And then we took advantage of VRNO, which was a nice gap up over here. These are the 5-minute charts, so let me go to the 1 minute. Well, we had a nice gap up from 160 yesterday to 195. So a lot of opportunity happens, and that usually happens from that consolidation day. And that's this opportunity, just one situation. The next situation would be a second green day that leads to a breakout. And the last one, like I said, would go all the way back down. But that, we would not look for a play anymore. All right, well, that's a small list of cannabis stocks for you guys. If you want more, come join me in the Simpler Trading Stock Mavericks room. Hit that subscribe button. I'm doing these videos now every single week, an educational video at the end of the week, as well as live trading and a weekly watchers. I'm here to get rich together. So the more people we have, the merrier. We'll love to have you guys. If not, good luck out there on your next sector momentum move. And I'm going to make my next video about another sector. So be on the lookout for that. All right, guys. Much love and good luck out there this week. See ya.